As you may know, a little while ago I made a video about Pokemon with types that don't make sense, and Lugia, with its typing of Psychic Flying, was heavily featured on it. Well, today I'm going to be analysing this even further, so let's get started! Of course, I have to consider both sides of the argument. So, to start off, we shall be looking at why Lugia's type might actually make sense. The last time I analysed Lugia's type, I focused on its habitat, the Whirl Islands, and how this aquatic home would make sense for a Pokemon of a water typing. However, it said that Lugia originally made its home in Ecruteak City's Brass Tower. Lugia then fled to the Whirl Islands once the Brass Tower caught fire and became the Burn Tower that we all know of today. The point to get from this is that even though Lugia makes its habitat in the aquatic area of the Whirl Islands in Generation 2 in its remakes, it was not the original home that it sought out. We all know that Lugia is the guardian of the seas, and it's speculated that it's in fact its psychic powers that allow it to control water. It might sound a little far-fetched, but let's just go with it. In the second Pokemon movie, Lugia is able to communicate with humans with his telepathic powers. This could also hint toward a psychic typing, right? And looking at Lugia's move pool, there are a vast amount of psychic type moves that it can learn. That's all I can think of. So now I'm going to be going over why Lugia should have a typing of water flying instead of psychic flying. You may be familiar with some of the things that I say from my previous video, but there was actually a lot of information that I had to filter out so that the video length was not affected. So there's a lot to go through. We'll start with Lugia's appearance. It has enormous wings, so it's easy to guess the flying part of its typing. Lugia's colour scheme is blue and white. White can mean any number of things, but I normally tend to associate the colour blue with the water type. Also regarding Lugia's appearance, there has been speculation that Lugia is in fact based on a plesiosaur, which, you guessed it, once lived underwater. Another possible inspiration for Lugia's design would be the beluga whale, which is of course an aquatic mammal. Beluga could also be the stem of Lugia's name. In my previous video, I briefly talked about why a partial water typing would make sense in regard to Lugia's relation to its counterpart, Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh represents the sky and, well, the sun. Lugia represents the sea, and so it would make sense for Lugia to be part water type, so they would balance each other out, similarly to how Groudon and Kyogre's themes of land and sea are represented well within their typing. In this regard, the psychic type is just there, and it doesn't really seem relevant at all. Now I'm going to be going over Lugia's habitat again. In the generation of its debut and their remakes, Lugia can be found in the Whirl Islands, which is of course in the middle of the sea. As I previously stated, this was not Lugia's original home in the games, but it wouldn't make sense for Lugia to reside here of all places if it wasn't even a water type. In Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald, Lugia can be found in the lower section of Naval Rock, which where, you guessed it, it is surrounded by water. In Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, Lugia can be found deep within Sea Marvel, in a part of the sunken ship that is completely underwater. In Red and Blue Rescue Team, Lugia can be found in a watery place called the Silver Trench. Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, Surrounded Sea. Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs, Undersea Cavern! Do you see a pattern yet? Lugia consistently seeks out places with water to live, but it still isn't a water type. Lugia's species name is even the diving Pokemon, which is a further reference to its habitat. And as I mentioned in my previous video, Lugia can be seen diving at the bottom of the ocean in both Silver and Soul Silver. And look at all of these moves that Lugia can learn. Rain Dance, Hydro Pump, Surf, Dive, Water Ball, Aqua Tail, Water Pulse. Pretty strange that it can use all of these aquatic moves despite not being of a water typing, right? And even Pokemon can't make up their minds about what type Lugia really is. They've mistakenly classed it as a water type many times in the Pokemon trading card game, and in the book adaptation of the Pokemon movie 2000, they even refer to it as a water flying type. I still believe that Lugia's type doesn't make a lot of sense, but at the same time I can appreciate the reasons that may support why it's psychic flying. Lugia, you would definitely suit a water flying type much more than your current typing, but I forgive you. I think that being able to analyze this issue again may finally allow me to put this argument to rest. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!